Hey guys, welcome back to the remote bean patch. We are back at Erie, Illinois, and I don't have the microphone hooked up, so I'm sorry if the audio is just a little bit off. We are going to take the motor, and some of you guys have been asking to have a video shot putting on a new belt for the fan. So we're going to shoot that video now. And it'll be boring to some people, but I guess others are curious as to how to do it. Now, a caveat, we're doing it with the engine on the bench, so that's going to make it quite a bit easier, potentially, but nonetheless, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the cover here. Now there's some tabs here, and you just pull the tabs up. There's 3 of them. Pull those tabs up with a regular screwdriver. Be very careful. Some of these can be dry rot, and you'll just pull that right off. It shouldn't take more than 2 or 3 minutes to get that off if it's giving you fits. If it's easy, it'll come off fairly easy. These are pretty doggone expensive, so be sure you try not to break those tabs when you do that. Now I have a tool here that's exposing the fan here, and I have a tool that was provided by, I think I got it from Leaf, and it goes on the fan, and I think what it does is it keeps the fan from rotating while you're backing this nut off. Now what I don't know is whether or not this nut is a right-hand thread or a left-hand thread. It wouldn't surprise me if it was a reverse thread, but we'll find out here. We are going to go ahead and take this off. This is a lefty-loosey, righty-tighty situation, and so we'll go ahead and take this off. Now when we put this on, we're going to want to torque this to about 46 foot-pounds, and so it's pretty specific as to what we're supposed to torque that value. Now behind here there's some shims, and there's quite a few things going on, so you just want to be mindful as you take this apart. So okay, so these are some shims, and these shims are on the outside of the fan pulley. Now these are really small shims. There's 3 of them. And the outermost shim was just a little bit boogered up, but not too bad. All these shims look like they've probably seen a little bit better day. So, okay, now we're gonna go ahead and pull this fan off. So stay tuned. Okay, so what we've done is I took a screwdriver and I went just slightly behind the blade, and I just kind of lightly pried out on the blade, and it has popped off of the spline, and now I think the blade here is just going to come right out. Okay, and there is the belt exposed right there, and we're going to see if we can't get the belt to come out. So what we'll do is you don't actually need to worm that through. This whole assembly can come off, and then you'll just bring it off like that. You can set that aside. This is probably a good time to grease the starter or look at the starter and take a look at that. And so the belt then is just right here. And you know, that belt looks like it was probably in perfect condition. But we will go ahead and swap it out and put that note that in the log book, because now we'll know the maintenance log, because now we'll know what the time is on that belt. So the new belt, a Mitsubishi 10x610, and so before we do that, let's just take a look here and see kind of what's going on. This on the back, bring it to the front there. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take all the shims There's about 2 different thicknesses of shims here, and we're going to put all the shims on the outside of the fan, and then we're going to put the lock washer on, and then we're going to put the nut on, and we're going to rotate this assembly. And as we rotate, we're going to be tightening this down, and that's going to move the belt outside of the pulley assembly. So it really is a lot like the Polaris or Arctic Cat. You know, as those two halves move apart, that pulley can get bigger or smaller, changing your gear ratio. Well, we don't want that to happen here. We just want the belt to be tight. But it's kind of a similar scenario. Is the belt's just gonna rub on 2 sides of that pulley. So, all right. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna just snug this down a little bit, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove this, and we're gonna rotate the engine while we tighten it. And what we're looking for is a tight fit here, not banjo tight, but just tight. And so I'm gonna start turning this. And what that's doing, it's walking the belt around that pulley system, so it's not pinched between the pulley system. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now, to make this a lot easier, you could remove a spark plug, and that would make it a lot easier. But I'm just going to give it a few rotations here and check that belt. Okay, that seems pretty tight. Now what you can do is you can remove a shim if you feel like it's a little bit too tight and you don't have your 46 pounds of torque here, then you can remove a shim and see what that does, see if that allows it to loosen the belt up just a little bit. So I'm going to get a torque wrench and we're going to test that to make sure we're at 46 foot-pounds, and we'll let you know. 46 foot-pounds is about 552 inch-pounds, and I have an inch-pound torque wrench here, and so I'm going to just check to see if we are on the money or if we're too tight or too loose. And so stand by for that. We were just a skosh loose, and now we're tight. The belt is tight. It is, I wouldn't say banjo tight, but it's tight. I mean, I can't hear any kind of ding, 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 whatever, you know, banjo music sounds like. Anyway, so I'll check that periodically. Now, I will tell you, as we go back together with this, there is a couple of fins here. And if you can remove one of those fins, it goes on like this. And if you remove this outer fin, that gives you the perfect view and a place to put a finger in to test this and check this belt each and every time that you want to do your pre-flight. Basically what you have to do is just cut this off and cut in here like this and cut that just like that, or you could just cut this tang off right here, and I think that would give you enough room to visually and physically inspect that. For those of you that are law enforcement, visual and physical inspection. And so that is just something that I'm probably going to do when I put it back on this time. I'm going to probably just cut that right off so I can get in there and check that belt. So, all right, I think we're good and we're ready to go back together.
Okay, so our cover's back on. Those are tight. I don't have the torque values for that. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cut this tang off here with some tin snips, and then I'm going to reinsert this back here, and you'll be able to see kind of what I'm trying to accomplish there with that. So I just removed that tang, cut that out right here, and what's going to happen is then as it goes on, okay, so we got that put back in place. Just takes a little time to get the tabs all lined up and get everything lined up. Now I'll bring you over here and I'll show you what I did here was by cutting that off, then it opens up this, and so you get a good view of the belt, you know. And you're not trying to stick a pair of pliers or a screwdriver up in here somewhere and pushing on it. You can actually just come over here and physically and visually inspect it. And so that is a little trick. So, all right. Okay, and so that is the my rendition of replacing the fan belt from a Rotax 503 dual carb, dual CDI engine. Total cost, I don't know, I think the belt was, I want to say the belt was like close to $30 and the tool was $20-some. But you really need this tool. You don't want to break that fan. That fan's 50 bucks. And then you're down for quite a while you're waiting on that fan to come back. So now this gets labeled as Rotax fan immobilizer and put in my toolbox. All right, guys, well, we are going to continue on. This motor is getting closer then to getting put on the airplane. I'm going to replace these Lord mounts next, and we'll bring you along for that. So we'll see you next time at the Bean Patch.